Yeah, so actually my friends, because they were in banking,
Okay.
and we, I was always very money minded actually.
Joke.
And my friends being in the banking field, so at that time to stocks ka bada, like trading, ye wo blah, bahut zyada, and especially my friends, so when they started discussing this, we had decided that we want to invest together. And I used to be quite busy, and my friends, like they were in a bit of a hurry, so they already bought and they invested and they even got the returns and all of that, and they didn't tell me about it for like at least like say 2 months or something. And when they finally told me that, yeah, we've invested and we've already, like taken it out and we've already done this, and I was like so angry. I was like, how dare you girls invest without me, because we had a plan to do
Plan.
it together,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was really, really, really upset with my friends. And so one of my friends was like, she was just one of those like really like chilled out ones. She's like, okay, chill kar, मैं तुम्हें बड़ा cheetah broker का number दूंगी. Just casually, she's like, कि हाँ मैं just, she was literally like, just shut up, like I'll give you this really cheetah broker's number. I remember her words. And I was like, acha, like batao mujhe. So I called Atif. It was his office number. And I had already kind of socially known him.
Yeah.
And he had already been interested in me from before as well. And we had already been set up once by another friend who is a very common friend of ours, actually. And we had been set up, but I had no idea about it. So we went to this party, and I walked off, to my other friends, because I didn't know that it was something, was set up, And then after that, I think we met again with friends. We met at another dinner. Again, I had no idea that, this was something which was a setup.
But when you called him then?
Yeah, so like, I had no idea that Atif actually was interested in me, But when I called him, it was after a long time, actually, that, after a gap of, say, like 2.5 years, that I had eventually called him. After all of this had happened, the setup and the dinner and whatever not, I called him. And so he... उस ज़माने में, like there was only those phone calls, the normal dial phones, whatever, those cord phones, and we used to only have mostly landlines. So somehow he had my landline because of that common friend of ours. And so when I called him, it showed up on his phone, that the landline was this number. And he immediately knew that it was my number, know. So I was like, hi, this is Nadia Hussain, and I want to open a stock and whatever, an account, and I want to invest in all that. So he's like, the same day, he's like, yeah, sure, I'll bring the form and I'll get it signed for you today only. So I was like, acha yaar, ye to bada jaldi ho gaya kaam. So he came over in the evening, and my mother was most upset. She's like, what are you doing? Like, we've never invested in stocks. None of your family has invested in stocks, and this is dangerous, and tum apna paisa duba rahi ho, ye kar rahi ho. Maine kaha, ammi, kuch nahi hota. Like at that time, I remember I invested 1 lakh, and उस ज़माने में 1 लाख की बहुत वैल्यू होती थी, लेकिन मैंने कहा कि अम्मी 1 लाख है, ठीक है, डजेंट मैटर, आई एम नॉट इन्वेस्टिंग 4 लाख या 5 लाख, मैं 1 लाख कर रही हूँ, इट्स फाइन, अगर फॉर एग्जाम्पल डूब भी जाते हैं पैसे तो 1 लाख है. आई वाज लाइक आई वांटेड टू टेक दैट रिस्क.
नहीं लेगा इंसान तो कभी कुछ नहीं करेगा.
Yeah, so I did that, and like when we started discussing about stocks and what to buy and what to sell and blah blah blah, but that is how it all started.
Wow. So this is it.
So within 3 months, actually, I got engaged, and also
really?
another thing.
I remember him. मुझे पूरा याद है because हम लोग obviously we used to meet at parties and socially और fashion के ज़माने में.
Yeah.
And he was tall.
Yeah.
That was the other thing. You made a couple.
Yeah.
You look like a couple. He's very quiet, so he's always been very well mannered.
Yeah.
And very decent. I mean, always thought that he was extremely decent and match. I thought this was a match, and
but I think what made me kind of realize that he is the ideal person, the one, was also because soon after, actually we got engaged in 5 months, but within 2-3 months of me meeting him, my father got very unwell, and he had a heart attack, and he had to undergo a bypass surgery and all of that. And that was the first time that I was exposed to hospitals, and I had no idea, and Atif already had been very, very well aware of hospitals and all of that, So it was during that time that him being constantly by my side.
In the worst of times.
In the worst of. So I was like, okay, this is
a keeper.
yeah.
He's a keeper.
He's a keeper.